Good governance is the fulcrum and foundation of every purposeful and impactful leadership. In today's edition of Politics and Leadership, we'll be taking a very keen look at the recent development in the United States of America. You know, the historic move of the current president of the United States, His Excellency Joe Biden, of on his own resigning to be the party's flag bearer in the forthcoming general elections. It is very striking and instructive, at the same time historic, because this is the very antithesis of what obtains in most developing countries of the world, especially in Africa. In Africa, we have a situation where leaders who have completed their two-term tenures in office always refuse to leave office when their tenure is over. And when they do want to leave, they would always want to impose someone on the people who would continue where they stopped during their tenure. How significant is the move and step of Joe Biden? And what lessons have we learned from this very significant step taken by this leader, global leader of our day? All right, so today we are going to be dissecting the issue. All right, and be looking at we're going to be juxtaposing it with what we have in Africa, especially and more importantly to us here in Nigeria, what this portends. Okay, yes, because in this program we are always being proactive, recommending proactive solutions. Okay, though we haven't had that situation recently or in recent past in Nigeria where an incumbent, all right, would resign or refuse to leave office. Okay, what we're saying today is that we don't want it to ever occur or happen in this country. So we are saying our leaders should always emulate this very commendable and laudable step by the United States president. Okay, so the first issue we are going to be, looking at today is by way of introduction. Why did Joe Biden, resign, on his own? Okay, yes. Why did he say step down? All right, and said, "I am no longer going to to fly the flag of my party during the election that is just few months away." Okay, yes, if it's in Africa continent, hey, the leader would never agree. Yay, it's a very rare occasion, But why? Not that the circumstances that gave rise to that situation is not found here in Africa. Okay? Yes, we always, we have witnessed even worse scenarios than that. Where the sitting president refused to heed the hues and cries of the populace and always, want to perpetuate themselves in the corridors of power. All right? Most times they are taken out by death, or what happens most times, coup d'etat or something, So today, we're looking at these factors. First is that Joe Biden was told that he's getting very old. Okay, yes, that he is no longer that active and agile, to represent the office of the head of state, of the president of the United States. The picture of the president of the United States is one that is if is actually idealistically portrayed to be one of a perfect Superman, a perfect hero, okay, who is actually ruling the whole world. Because when you talk about the United States, you're talking about the the first country of the world, okay? Yes, they are the superpower of the world. So there's this special picture, even though it's ideal, even though most people will argue it, but there is, there's this, if you call it a fantasy, you're correct, whatever you call it, but there's a particular picture, that portrayal, depiction, the swagger that a United States president always, portray and exude, that kind of aura and confidence. There's a special respect that is accorded the president of the United States. And people are saying that, man, Mr. Joe, you've been a great leader, but you cannot, depict, that perfect picture of excellence and panache that the office is associated with. So that's the number one factor that the people highlighted, after that debate with Donald Trump, that first debate, and people started shouting, man, oh, this is not what we want, okay? Yes. We want a president that is not just a human, just a normal human being, but someone whose charisma, what they say about Orpheus of the great Greek pantheon, someone who can even command stones to move, yes, that's the kind of, aura that the president of the United States, exudes and commands, yes. So they said, this man, you are no longer exuding that kind of swagger, yes. That's the number one issue. And is that even enough reason to make a sitting president to, you know, say, okay, no problem. I'm no longer going to be contest. Is that enough reason? That was the first thing they said. Now, the second issue that made Joe Biden to take that decision, in our own estimation, is that, they said a good soldier, is not one that must fight until he become a martyr. All right? Yes, until he dies. But one who knows when to leave the front line. Okay? Yes, Joe Biden realized by himself, all right? Not that he was forced. He realized by himself that, man, although I know the nuances, although I know the nooks and crannies, although I understand the politics of the United States, but it is true that I can muzzle myself if I want into this position. But let me just respect the wishes of the people of the United States. That's what we call gallantry, Yes. A demonstration of gallantry on the part of, His Excellency, Mr. Joe Biden. And that is very, very commendable. Okay? Now, the third factor that we've identified is that Joe Biden, by his singular decision, has rewritten history. This is what has never, what has rarely taken place in other countries of the world. A sitting president whose constitutional tenure has not elapsed, backing on his own, taking the decision to back a woman, who happens to be his deputy, to take over from him. That's a historic decision. So that's why we are looking at this. What does this imply? What does it portend? What is the implication of this very lofty and commendable decision? But Joe Biden has given history a new route and direction. Okay? Yes. You know what they do in football? Yes, when someone plays to a certain number of minutes, okay, and the coach said, okay, you have tried, you have contributed your quota. Now come out, let your teammate come in and take your position. You know, no sensible player would begin to protest, at that point in time and say, well, I'm not going to go out of the pitch, But Joe Biden has, demonstrated the spirit of sportsmanship, even though he's a politician. you know, and said, okay, no problems. I am going to, get out of the pitch and allow another person to take my place and position. And eventually, let's see if the person will be a better playmaker. All right? Yes. So, what lessons has this taught us? Those of us here in developing countries of the world, especially those of us here in Nigeria, you know, Joe Biden, by this singular decision, has demonstrated, that he doesn't believe or is not someone who is power drunk. The entitlement mentality of politicians in developing countries of the world. Where once they get into power, the power of incumbency intoxicates them, that if they have not completed their tenure, constitutional tenure, hey, it becomes very, very impossible for them to even listen to anybody that will suggest leave politics. It will be by war or fight for them to leave. That's a very commendable decision by Joe Biden. On his own, saying, I'm not going to feel entitled to this. Now, the second item we have identified is that of patriotism. He places the interests of American people and the American society over his own personal interest. Okay? Yes, this is very, very commendable. He says, okay, United States and its politics is not about Joe Biden, it's about the people. Of course, we are practicing